Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, we are committed to helping you go from where you are to where you want to be. And we're going to help you do that by helping you learn how to live with intention, reshape your mindset, and learn how to look at the world through a grateful lens. So first of all, I want to say thank you for this for you tuning into this episode and for committing to your growth and to learning. Like we talk about every week, every Mindset Monday, these episodes come out. So hit that subscribe button so you get notifications and reminders, and then share it. Share this episode with one other person. Again, you subscribing matters to me, to the show, to the team here. It allows us to do more, gets us more exposure, but it also really kind of cultivates more energy and allows us to know and see what you're listening to, what matters to you, so that we can keep creating more content for you, not just things that we're delivering to you. Because this is all for you. This is for every single one of you that listen. You message me, you share how these podcasts and these episodes are impacting your life and in the lives of the people that you're grateful for. And that is our why. That's why we do what we do. Living the sweet life is not just about living the good life. It's about living a life of intention through gratitude by allowing, life to happen in a way that we see everything. But we also reshape our mindset to focus more on the good things, focus more on the great things to come. Even though we've gone through some tough things in our lives, it's important to understand that all of the moments that have been prepared for us, we are being prepared for now. And that brings me to this episode. This is a tough episode. It's an episode we've dabbled in a little bit before, where the previous episode was about being who your younger self needed. And oftentimes we kind of look back and don't even really think about what we needed as a child and who we were. And we separate those two things. But it's also really important to stop and think about who we were as a child and what we needed and what we had and what we wished we had is really shaping us as adults. But then whenever you get in a relationship or a friendship, whatever it is, those two things, unless they're addressed, kind of become this unspoken thing that are in a relationship that we don't talk about, but it manifests all the time. And so, thinking about as a child, this, the pain that you've had, the joy that you've had, just all those things have really shaped us to do more of something or to less of something or fear something. We learn those lessons early on to survive. But those same things that we learned early on to survive are maybe not going to be the same things that are going to help us thrive. We talk about self-love a lot, doing things out of self-love and so on and so forth, but it's really important to slow down and focus on the journey to self-love is actually starting with nurturing your inner child, who you were and how you've grown up. It's not just a chapter of our life that doesn't impact us. It's a part of our life that is always with us. So understanding that self-love is really like this foundation of growth that we talk a lot about, but really understanding that nurturing self-love is crucial to the overall well-being, whether it's mental or physical, emotional health, but also your personal success, because one of two things are going to make us take steps forward in our lives. And we've talked about this before too, where it's either pain or purpose. We're going to try to heal from something by doing something else. And so take inventory and slow down and think about what have you not healed from? What are some troubling things? What are things that are heavy on your heart when it's quiet? Or maybe when you get triggered, what are those things as an inner child or as a younger child that you still carry with you that maybe you're too embarrassed to say? Maybe you don't want to say out loud, or maybe you don't want to even acknowledge that they're there. Because the path to really loving yourself is loving all of yourself, not just the parts that you love, not just the parts that you're proud of, but everything. Because ultimately, that's how we all want to be loved anyway. We want somebody to love all of us, not just the great things about us. And that's one thing in the relationships that I'm in is really, I want to know everything, so that I can love you in all of those places, because all of those places really make us who we are as an adult. Really think about, isn't that all you want, is to be loved for you just being you, for everything that has shaped you? Because we can't hate the experiences that have shaped us to become the person that we are today. This is one of the things that I've had to do throughout my life, is really slow down and think about being grateful for things that happened in my life that made me who I am today, while still not seeing those as the anchor that held me back, or the things that created negative things in my life that if this didn't happen, then I would have X. That's giving away responsibility and putting blame on your past. But really think about, what did you need as a child, and nurture more of that, and also bring some of that back out. Bring out some of that energy. And, I get to talk to a wide group of audiences when I go speak. And I've had the opportunity to be in a room of 19 5-year-olds, and the curiosity and just all of, we see that there isn't all this hate and judgment, all these things that as adults we're trying to heal from, and we're trying to move past, and we wish it weren't there. But maybe we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. And maybe we need to learn more from kids. And maybe we need to go back and appreciate our younger years, and appreciate more of their curiosity and just their willingness to embrace things as they are. And they feel all of their emotions, but they're also growing and learning just like we are. So we're really trying to understand your inner child, that inner curiosity, while also still healing from some of the things that you're carrying from those days. And, like I've said, on the previous episode where I talked about this, is there are definitely some things in my life. My parents got divorced. I was the youngest of 3 kids in my family, 2 older sisters. And I've really spent a lot of time thinking about how did those years really shape me into the person that I am today, and how can I be better for my younger self. That is still inside, but also how can I be better for, hopefully at some point in my life, I get to be a dad. I get to show up, and I get to have that opportunity to then not try to rectify what I wish I had as a kid, but actually just be the most for what they need me to be. Because if we're not careful, we're going to try to heal and project outwardly some of the things that are still inside of us that we haven't maybe healed from, maybe haven't paid attention to, maybe haven't owned. And so, yes, fear is some of this, to where you're afraid that you're going to do some of the things that maybe your parents did. But whenever you start to really understand that your parents, whenever I was a kid, my parents were, like superheroes. They were, I didn't even see them as people. They were just my parents, right? But really, now that maybe some of you are parents, you slow down and think about, man, your parents are just trying to do the best they could. But they also have been conditioned by their parents. And then as we have grown, and generationally, as we've grown, the previous generation always tries to do better for the next generation. And so, like, my parents wanted me to have a better life than they had. And really what that means is they had things that happened in their lives that their parents did that they didn't like, or maybe that caused them strife and disappointment. And so they made sure not to do those things. And so they were healing through doing it better for the next generation. But when you start to think about this inner child, right, this idea of self-love, have you paid enough attention to really understand who that person is, who that person was? And how do you love both versions? How do you really love all of you, everything that has happened? I know there are hard things that have happened. I'm not saying to dismiss those things, but I'm saying find a way to love yourself no matter what. Find a way to love your parents, for the people that have shaped you in different ways. But really, there's ways to kind of bring out, right? It's kind of a lightheartedness. And people say sometimes my energy and my joy, my optimism, they're like, oh, you've always been like that. Well, I haven't. If you've read the book I wrote about grateful leadership, one of the things I talked about was how I had suicidal thoughts as a teenager. So I didn't have this energy about me all the time. I faked it a lot because I didn't want people to know that I was hurting. But I had to really stop and own that and think about, like, what brings me energy now? And as an adult, it's more normal just to kind of be flat. And people say, like, my energy and my happiness and all of that, they sometimes call it toxic, which is just wild. People tell me I'm a lot. Because of the energy, because of the mindset that I have, it's more, I get along great with kids. Whenever I was in that room full of 5-year-olds, we were having a great time for an hour. We were talking about gratitude and all this energy transfer and all of that, because I have come to terms with my inner child, and I've also recognized why that energy is so powerful. And so I want you to go back, listen to that music, do something. What did you love to do as a kid? And how do you do more of that? And whenever you're around kids, you recognize how your energy shifts, how you get more curious, you get more playful. Maybe you dance a little bit more. Going to birthday parties for kids is incredible. And you get to see all the joy. And, we do all these things as kids, and we celebrate birthdays. And then now whenever I talk to most people, I'm 42. Now when I talk to most people about birthdays, they just say, it's just another day. Let's move on. What happened? We used to be so excited about turning 7 years old, and then now it's just another day. It's the same. How do we find that energy again? All right. So maybe you do something that's playful, do something creative, maybe do some journaling on kind of what was it about your childhood that brought you so much joy? And how do you do more of that? But also, what are some things that you haven't healed from yet? Because maybe moving those things out of the way, owning them and healing from them and moving them out of the way may be the thing that you need to actually embrace more of your inner child and that curiosity and that joy. It's okay to laugh and dance and bring joy to your life, because once you start to really kind of embrace that inner self, you start to make it be okay to do something different than somebody else, because slowly but surely, one person at a time, we can have more fun. I turn music on all the time, and I dance, and I just have a good time, because life is something that I'm grateful for. And so I recognize that I listen to music that I used to listen to with my parents, with my grandparents even. And that brings joy to me. And so it brings good feelings about, but I also had to understand that it's okay to be different. And it's important that as you continue to self-love, it's loving yourself because you're authentically being you. And whenever you bring that into a relationship, and how this healthy version of you in a relationship actually brings out the healthiest type of relationship, because you can actually positively influence the people around you to also do the same, and empower them to also bring out some of that joy. And, whenever you stop and think about with the people that you have in your life and relationships that you're in, if you are having trouble healing from something, or maybe you aren't loving something about yourself, you will find judgment in other people for that as well. And that's a weird way of kind of making yourself feel better for not healing. And that's an important kind of delineation between these two things. Like, oftentimes the things that we criticize other people for is also a pretty good indicator of something we aren't happy with about ourselves. So as you start to embrace some of this inner child and this kind of what you haven't healed from chapter, start and really think about, how are the decisions you're making today, how have they been impacted by your childhood, or maybe things that you haven't healed from? Because ultimately, we want to be loved for who we are, all of us, for like the deepest parts of us as well. But you have to do that for yourself first. And sometimes it brings out that inner child, that fun spirit of like, make your birthday fun again. Don't just make it another day. Make the weekends, do something fun for yourself. Listen to fun music again, dance a little bit more often, just do something more creative. Just kind of get out of the routine of what people say the real world of adults and all these different things. There's so much joy to be had, but we have to sometimes embrace that inner child so that we can really love ourselves fully, so that we can give ourselves fully to the people around us. And so, well, the one thing I want to say here, as far as kind of like, what do you do now? Now that you're kind of on this journey of self-love and nurturing who you were, as you kind of focus on who you are, this is going to be kind of a unique thing, but write a letter to your younger self, expressing love and understanding for who you are now, for who you were then. And think about as the adult writing back a letter to your younger self. And what advice would you give to your younger self? Because that is so important, to be on your own team, to love yourself then. That's the biggest first step you can take to really loving who you are is writing that letter backwards to say, you know what, you did great. You loved, you were kind, you were caring, you're courageous. Because the truth of the matter is, whatever heartfelt message we would write back to our younger selves, that's actually still who we are today. If we're just unwilling, if we're willing to move some things out of the way, or maybe it's heal for some things that happened to us as adults. But when you write back and you think about, it's sometimes that reminder of who you were as a child, and that curiosity and that love and that joy and all the things that you used to just do whimsically as a kid. That is still inside of you if you're willing to face it, to look at it, and to recognize that it's still deep inside of you. So engage in that one activity today that brings out that playful side. Even after you listen to this episode, turn on some music that you used to love to dance to when you were a teenager or something along those lines or whatever. Just turn on something and do something fun. Do something that makes you laugh. Share it with somebody else. I do this all the time. I share music with people and it just brings joy and good memories back. And so this is just a choice away. Like I remind you every episode, this is just a choice away to really fully love on this self-love journey, to really love all parts of you, not just ignoring or wishing something were different, but heal from it and learn how to love yourself fully. Hope this episode really kind of brings out some curiosity, maybe sparks some different thoughts of some things you could do differently. And, I hope you share this with somebody else, because this is something that I hear all the time from adults, is just getting through the day, not having a lot of joy. I ask people, when's the last time they felt joy? And most people can't tell me a thing. But if you ask a kid, when's the last time you had fun or had joy? They can tell you 5 different things they've done last week. And we're just one decision away from that. So I hope you have hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. And I will remind you, like I do with every episode, that you always have the power and the choice, one, to nurture your inner child, but also to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Till the next episode, never stop.